So, I mean, today we listed about 16 major rivers across the country, and I have no doubt you've seen them all. Maybe you can give us a whistle stop tour. What's the state of these rivers today?
Of course, I've seen them all. And even the 16 we have, there are more. Just that when I see them, sometimes I don't get the names accurate, but I'm still compiling the list. So in the coming days, we'll update that list. In fact, let me start from Ashanti region because that's where I am. Let's go to the Ofin River. Kodo, today you cannot differentiate the Ofin River from a muddy flowing pool. This was a river that in about 2015, it was as clean. There were fishermen along it. They were fishing. You could clearly see a pin drop in that water. Now it is drying up in many of the areas. It is so muddy that farmers at Abesia, Abumpe, when I went there, recently they've been calling me that many of them have relocated. Because now even the boreholes that they do have in town are no more working. And so they cannot even fetch the water and carry it to the farm. These are farms that are along the river. So it's just a few inches from normally they farm along the river. But you cannot use that water source because now it's so muddy and thick that you can't use it to do anything. The Oda River is equally very bad as we speak. Farmers who used to irrigate their farms with it at Benenebing, Odaho, Obiakwa, or in the Amansia area can no longer use it. In fact, it is polluted from the source. It takes its source from the Apamprama itself, the forest. And you know what has happened to the Apamprama? 50% of it is gone, pits and gullies. So the devastation there, and there are miners still in there at the moment who are mining illegally. And so that pollution is still joining the Subri and the Oda and the Apamprama stream, all from the forest in there. Now, what is so bad about the Oda River situation is that when you go to Odaso, the Ghana Water Company has an intake point at Odaso, which pumps and treats water to Obuasi and its environs. Now, when you look at the nature of water that is being treated by the Ghana Water Company at Odaso, it will shock you. I won't be surprised if the turbidity is now hovering around 13,000 or 12,000. When we went there, it was around 3,400 or so NTU. Now, let's go to the Tano River in Samreboy. We came from the Samreboy about... Now, could you remember in 2022 when we were filming the Strassen Proposed documentary, we pictured Akonta mining and its site. I say this with all the confidence because we have drone footage showing Akonta mining in 2022 sitting at the edge of the Tamil River with their mining residue directed into the river straightforward, mining directly into the Tamil River and polluting it, which is contrary to our mining regulations. In fact, there are fines and there are prison custodial sentences for somebody who is doing that, polluting the water source. Today, when we went there, more miners have joined the fray. So as we speak, they are mining directly in the river. Some of them are pitched their washing bays at the edge of the river, and they are washing directly into the water source, which is not only criminal but very cruel, looking at the poisonous residue that comes from mining. Now, when you go to Bena, Boya, Ohiampenika, Datano, and this environment, these are communities along the Tano River. There are miners all along these places that we filmed, washing their residue directly into the river. And these are Chinese miners who are driving the excavators themselves, contrary to law. Fast forward, let's go to the Pra River. And we've been touring. When you go to Chifo Kotoche, Chifo Etimokwa, Old Town and New Town, the Pra River is also suffering the same. Recently, if you saw that they were accusing the chief of mining over there, there are Chinese people who have pitched camp in these communities along the Pra River. My worry is that, at least if you are perpetrating an illegality, you must have a conscience that tells you, common sense will tell you that you do not mine and wash the residue, which is poisonous, into a major river like the Pra. But that is what they are doing at the moment. And that pollution is what is ending up at Dabwase, the intake point, where the Ghana Water Company is talking about 14,000 NTU at the moment that they cannot treat. In fact, Chifo Praso, along all those lines, the miners have pitched camp. There are champagne machines sitting on it in all those towns, Chifo Praso, along that terrain, right to Dabwase, where we're talking about. Let me go to the Butri River. We managed to go to Hotopo and the Usiedo, where the mining is happening along the Butri River. Now, that river now looks more dirtier than we met it in 2023. In fact, the women who used to rely on the water solely for their domestic use can no longer use that water. In fact, Kojo, when you see the nature of the river itself, you could see that the banks are drying up and it is more thicker than we saw it in 2023. Now, the women are now buying aluminium sulfate. It's sold commonly, 1 cedi per pack. And so when they are not getting, the wells they've dug around are not giving them water, they fetch the Butri River and then they add the alum, stir it, let it clarify for a moment, and then they pour the what they think is clean and use it. Some of them use it to cook, some use it to bath, and even those who use it to bath, they get skin irritation. That's the Butri River. Now, just along that stretch, you go to the Ankobra. And in fact, those of you who live at the estuary, Ankobra town, those of you who live in the Nzema towns, Banso, Domanasi, Awolenzo, Douale, all those I will attest to the fact that now the Ankobra is almost drying up. In fact, it is silted because at certain points, like Awolenzo, for example, when we sat on the boat, we saw that they have mined in the river for a long time to the extent that it has silted. So you can see heaps of the sand sitting in the portions of the Ankobra. And so those who used to use boats or canoes on the river can no longer do so safely. You have to get somebody to sit at the edge of the canoe to be directing you around the silted areas, or else the boat will capsize. And it is so dirty that when we fetched some for testing, in fact, I got so sad at that particular moment. And then when you move towards the estuary where it joins the sea, although we have drone footages, and when you see it, you see the Ankobra, which once was so majestically blue waters flowing beautifully and joining the sea. Now it is a milky brown water which is polluting the sea for miles. Miles. Now, what is happening at the estuary is that the fishermen who do not have outboard motors to be able to go deeper into the sea are without jobs. So when you go, you see their canoes parked along the estuary. They can't go because the fishes have now moved from the pollution and they are moving towards deeper seas. And so only those with outboard motors can now fish deeper into the sea. The same applies to the Pra River at Aunlo Beach and Shama. We have drone footages that will show you how the polluted Pra is now thicker and moving, sweeping into the sea like that.
Erastus,
it's mind-boggling.
Erastus, forgive me.
To think that such a major river will be polluted to this end.
Forgive me, Erastus, but I mean, for the sake of our mental health, I may have to ask you to pause so that we continue this again. Because, look, as you describe these water bodies, all I'm thinking of are the people who live in the communities near these rivers, the people whose entire lives, because water is life, and the whole point of settlement, human settlement and civilization, was that you find a water source and you settle near it. So the definition, the reason, the basis for Ghana being a country, the settlement of humanity in this part of the country, was based on the availability of water. 80% of it is now poisoned. Erastus, honestly, I wonder what the people in these communities say to you. You've told me about the lady with the alum. When we re-engage on this conversation next week, please, let's talk about the people. Let's talk about how this thing affects the people.
Before I go, let me tell you about what farmers at Abesia experience. In fact, at the point when they are out of jobs, they can't get water to grow the vegetables they grow along. They call it patra. So they got angry and they fought the Shamfan operators themselves. Do you know the interesting thing? The police came down. They did not arrest the Shamfan operators. They arrested the farmers. Some of them spent 2 or 3 days in cells. And they told them their charge was that the Shamfan operators said, one of them said, his motorbike was stolen by the demonstrators.
Hey.
I'm telling you.
Erastus, let's continue next week. We need to recover from this. Thank you. Erastus Asare Donkor, of course, our environmental journalist with Love FM and Joy News. Look.